We live in a world where every click, every scroll, every like can shape your perception of reality. Welcome to the era of information, or perhaps misinformation. Today, knowledge is literally at our fingertips, yet never before has the truth seemed so elusive. In this video, we will explore how the digital revolution has transformed the way we communicate, think, and believe. Together, we will discover how to distinguish truth from falsehood in a sea of information where opinion seems to carry the same weight as fact. Are you ready to look beyond the screen? The advent of internet has radically changed our way of life. Sitting in front of a screen, we can access all human knowledge, work remotely, and communicate instantly with anyone in the world. The internet has democratized access to information. Anyone can write, comment, and publish. It's a powerful revolution, but not without risk. Today, everyone has the opportunity to be heard, and this may seem like progress. But in a world where every voice has the same volume, we risk confusing reality with opinion, science with personal feeling. We live immersed in a continuous flow of news, videos, podcasts, and posts. Every million of contents are published online, but our brain is not designed to handle this overload. It doesn't evolve at the same pace as technology and therefore struggles to process all this data. So, to defend itself, it adopts shortcuts, catching headlines, emotional content, confirmations of our pre-existing ideas. The media has adapted to this pace. News must be quick, engaging, clickable. Information must be generated quickly, consumed quickly, and keep us glued to the screens by stimulating our curiosity with ever new facts. There is no more time to reflect, delve deeper, think, or exercise critical thinking. We neither have the time nor the desire to check sources or ask ourselves if what we read or see makes sense. And it is precisely in this frenzy that something seemingly contradictory insinuates itself in this always connected and informed world. Disinformation. It's not a simple absence of information, but a contamination. Fact mixed with fiction. Opinions passed off as truth. Emotions used as tools of manipulation. A concrete example, the Cambridge Analytica case. Millions of personal data used to manipulate political opinions during elections. Or the Novax movement, born from scientific misinformation and amplified by social media. Just remember the false correlation between vaccines and autism, born from a debunked study but still circulating today. Disinformation thrives when the need for content is continuous, but fact-checking slows down. And in a context where the algorithm rewards what generates interactions, often outrage, fear, indignation, truth loses ground. After all, spectacular things don't happen in the world every day, let alone every hour. Disinformation proliferates in a system that requires continuous content but slows down on fact-checking. And algorithms reward indignation, fear, hunger. The truth? It's slow, silent, boring, and often ignored. In today's world, social media algorithms have no conscience, but they have a goal: to keep you on the platform. And to do that, they show what interests you, what you like, what makes you react, not what is true. This logic reinforces our beliefs, isolates us in bubbles of homogeneous content, and prevents us from seeing different points of view. If you look for evidence that confirms a theory, even the most absurd, you will find it. Not because it's true, but because the algorithm knows it will keep you glued on the screen. And so reality becomes fragmented, polarized. There is no longer one truth, but many small personalized truths. The results? A more divided, more fragile, more manipulable society. In this chaos, science should represent an anchor, but is often ignored and placed on the same level as opinions. Science is slow, laborious, rigorous. It's not enough to say it makes sense to me. It must be proven. Someone else independently must be able to replicate the results. It takes time. It takes effort, but that's precisely why it's reliable. Science doesn't give us absolute certainties. It gives us testable knowledge. And in a world of illusions, is perhaps the deepest form of honesty we have. Unfortunately, by the time science confirms or refutes an hypothesis, the world has already taken a stance. And often, that stance is based on emotions, not evidence. Freedom of speech is a fundamental right. It's perhaps one of the most beautiful achievements we have obtained. But the freedom to express an opinion does not imply that all opinions are equal. An opinion expressed on Twitter does not have the same value as a theory verified by a scientific community. Being able to express an opinion does not mean that all opinions have the same value. It's not censorship to say that some sources are more reliable than others. It's responsibility. It's awareness. If everything has the same weight, then nothing really weighs. If science can affirm any truth after passing the scrutiny of the scientific method, opinions can be expressed quickly without having to prove anything. Everything can be said regardless of reality and facts. We must relearn to distinguish between opinions, valuable, subjective, stimulating, and facts, objective, measurable, replicable. Only then we can rebuild a dialogue based on reality and not on perception. When everything is placed on the same level, we feel legitimized to stay in our position, to ignore every different point of view. Even when we don't have the possibility to know the fact, we feel the need to have an opinion. This fuels polarization. The world divides into us against them. And technology reinforces this division, showing us only what we want to see. We stop looking for answers because we have already found them. But these are comfortable answers, not necessarily true. This is the real danger, not the blatant lie, but the constant confirmation of our illusions. We don't bother to verify whether what we know are words of science or mere bar chatter. And we don't take the trouble to research what might contradict us. We are addicted to what confirms our beliefs, developing a tendency to ignore anything that might make us change our minds. Moreover, the concept of freedom of expression is interpreted in an absolute freedom devoid of any responsibility. Those who communicate have a duty to think about the effect of their words, to clarify any misunderstandings, not to pass off as fact what is merely an impression. There is nothing wrong with saying, "This is my opinion," but it's an act of honesty and humility to specify it. Only then we can create a space where dialogue is healthy and not just noisy. In this context, education plays a crucial role, not just scientific education, but also media education. We must learn to read the news with a critical spirit, to recognize reliable sources, to ask uncomfortable questions. We need a new literacy. It's not enough to know how to use a smartphone. We must know how to use our head, to distinguish what excites us from what is real. To learn that doubt is not a sign of weakness, but of intelligence. And we also need emotional education, because often it's not a lack of information that leads us astray, but our difficulty in managing the emotions it generates. Those who create content should feel responsible for the impact they generate, but those who consume them must develop the tool to defend themselves. Before sharing, let's ask ourselves, is this news verified? Who wrote it? With what intent? Let's avoid reacting impulsively and jumping to premature conclusions. Sure, sometimes emotions generate a reaction beyond our control, but we can try to combat this tendency by questioning our conclusions. Let's take the time to reflect, to listen to those who think differently, not to give everyone a reason, but to build a more solid, more aware, more personal opinions. We live in a world where the truth is often buried under layers of emotions, algorithms, and opinions. But that doesn't mean we have to give up. Quite the opposite. We need a healthy skepticism, an active doubt, not to destroy everything, but to analyze, compare, reflect. We can't stop the speed of information, but we can change the way we experience it. If many of the processes that occur within our brain cannot be controlled by us, we must strive to actively consume energy to train our critical thinking, avoiding accepting as valid everything we experience. And doubt, however uncomfortable, is what allows us to form an opinion that is truly ours and not just borrowed. It becomes increasingly difficult to distinguish true from falsehood and opinions from facts and science. But awareness of this should put us in a position of benevolent skepticism. Science will never be as viral as a meme, but can be the compass that guides us in this sea of chaos, and our critical thinking, the tool to keep from getting lost. If this video made you reflect, leave a comment. What was the last time you questioned something you took for granted? And if you want to continue exploring the world with a critical spirit and an open mind, subscribe to the channel. Because the truth is not found in a viral post, but in the time we dedicated to seeking it.